You're listening to the Intuitive Souls podcast. I am your host, Erica Russo, and this podcast is designed to educate, inspire, and enlighten. Let's wake up together. Hi guys, welcome to the Intuitive Souls podcast. I am your host, Erica Russo. I am a psychic medium and lover of all things woo-woo. And today I asked my friend Mandy Russ, who was actually our third person that was on the show, to come back on because we are feeling called to talk about shadow work and inner healing work. And this week, I've decided to give the reins to Mandy, and she's going to be talking about a crystal and her choice of oil for the week. So Mandy, thank you for having us, and let me know, what crystal have you chosen this week?
Yes, thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be on again and talk about this stuff. I chose this week for shadow work, Lemurian Quartz. This is also known as the Master Stone. And if you have one stone in your arsenal, I would choose this. I actually just came across it this past year. These crystals are mostly found in Brazil. You could probably find them at your local shop, or also you could look online to find them. And legend has it, these Lemurian crystals originally came from the lost civilization of Lemuria. They were a very peaceful and spiritual, advanced civilization. So these crystals are said to be programmed with teachings of love and oneness, which was experienced by the Lemurian people. And they wanted, future generations to discover and benefit from that as well. This crystal is perfect in aiding your spiritual awakening, amplifying wishes and prayers, or setting intentions. Why I like it for shadow work is it's going to help you access higher states of consciousness and connect you with this hidden knowledge that's within you already. It's also great at removing energy blockages from all your chakras. And that's why they call it the master crystal, because it literally impacts every energy center in your body.
Wow.
Yeah.
Is this like a, because I feel like such an idiot for saying this right now, but I was talking to you before and I was like, I've never even heard of this. And I was looking in my crystal Bible for it and it's not even there. So is this considered a rare stone?
It might be. I'll tell you, it's a kind of a funny story how I came across it. I did a past life regression. I've done a few of them this last year. And, one of them was talking about how I was in Lemuria and also had a part in Atlantis. And of course, that sent me on a whole trajectory of what's that and why I had to know. And as I did that, I came across Lemurian Quartz. And then I went to a new crystal shop, and I just happened to come across this little crystal that said Lemurian Quartz. It caught my eye. I'm like, I got to have it, before I even researched it. And then I realized, wow, this crystal is amazing. And I love to use it in Reiki sessions. Really, I use it all the time. It's my favorite.
I know. Now I need to go find it.
Yeah.
That's definitely, it sounds like a perfect, like meditation crystal almost, especially like when you're doing the shadow work, to like be holding the Lemurian Quartz to access that information. So thank you.
Yeah. I mean, meditation is, right? You're trying to connect with your higher self. And I think in the long run, if you have like a little helper, a crystal that's ancient, that comes from that time of peaceful, what we're ultimately trying to reach, I mean, that's what you want.
Exactly. I love crystals. So thank you so much for that. Now, the essential oil of the week. I loved that you chose this one because I have been using it frequently. So let us know what you have chosen.
Yes, this week I chose frankincense, and this is an ancient oil, holy oil from ancient times when people, this was more valuable than gold. I mean, in the Bible you read about it, right, that they're putting it on, Mary's putting it on Jesus's feet. This is a wonderful, wonderful earthy aroma. It will help ground you. I love it because it helps me feel connected to myself and to Mother Earth, right? And what it's purpose in shadow work is it's really going to help promote integrity of yourself and finding your true self and being honest with yourself about who you are and these parts of you that maybe you don't want to look at.
Right. Yeah. I really, frankincense is a little bit more on the expensive side, but it is like, it is considered the god of all oils. And it really, it is so absolutely fantastic. I started using it, you know, those roller balls that you use on your face, the beauty roller balls.
Yeah.
I put like 1 or 2 drops of frankincense on it at night, and I'll just like pull, you know, do my whole skin routine with it. I do a lot of meditation with it. It really does. Yeah. It makes you feel very connected to earth. So this is, it's really such an incredible oil.
Yeah. It's an immune stimulant. So I know it's the winter months. A lot of us are getting sick. It's a natural pain reliever. So it's got so many benefits.
Yeah, definitely. So let's start talking about shadow work, because I know that we have been talking about doing an episode like this for a while, because it is something that people need to be educated about, because it is important, but it's something that as human beings, as natural, you know, as simple as it can be, we tend to not do it because it's scary.
That's right.
So why don't we, what is your definition of shadow work and why you think it is important for everybody to go through it?
Yeah. Well, first I want to say, I love in the introduction when you say, I love all things woo-woo. I love that. But this isn't even, as sometimes people think of shadow work, they might think of woo-woo, right? But it's not. I mean, it's really got roots in psychiatry. I mean, shadow work is a term that was coined by Carl Jung. He was a psychiatrist, a psychoanalyst in the 1900s, whose work has really heavily influenced the fields of psychiatry and really our understanding of our conscious and subconscious selves. Right. So really through his work, what he discovered is we have all these parts of our personalities, basically, that are rejected and repressed, shoved down right deep into the subconscious. And it's often these parts of ourselves that we don't really want to look at because we've been told it's not good, it's not acceptable, it's not normal. We're like either ashamed or disgusted or confused or maybe fearful of these parts. Often they just don't line up with our sense of morality or what we want or our goals or really how we perceive and want to portray ourselves as in the outside world, right? We create these images of who I want to be. And I think the part of shadow work is starting to realize, these things are going to pop up as emotional triggers all the time, these parts of shadow, because we're pushing it down, right?
Yes.
And it's just sitting there and it's simmering and it's simmering. And then it pops up at the most inopportune times. Like often I'll be like, oh God, I don't know why I said that, or I don't know why I did that. And it's like embarrassing sometimes. And you're like, God, I don't understand that. Or it could be something else, like you get rage or you get anger or you get super jealous. Everybody has their thing. Everybody's triggered by certain things. And when you get to a point where you feel like you got to know, you got to understand it, I think meditation draws a lot of us there. We reach a point in our lives where we can really start to address it. Maybe I'm going to go backwards a second. I want to talk about actually how it happens, because, these things are buried deep within, but this is totally normal, right? Because it happens as childhood is what Carl Jung found, right? It's these parts of ourselves as we're growing, we're trying to adapt, we're trying to fit into the family, into our society. This is just part of the human condition and experience, right? We're all doing this. It's survival instinct, really. So A, everybody's doing it. B, it's totally normal. And C, you can totally recover it and move past it. And I think that's what we're all being called to do at some part in our life. We might not call it shadow work, but we're all doing it. It's part of growing. It's part of getting wiser. So
yeah,
you can, yeah.
Yeah, no, I was going to say, you're totally spot on with that, because I think that a lot of the times, you know, we hear shadow work and we're like, oh, like we're so scared of it. But it's actually like, you know, when you're sitting there and everyone is doing it and we're just not aware of it. You know what I mean? We don't know that that's the actual work that we're supposed to be doing, like processing emotions and processing things from our childhood. And we'll do it and it comes up so randomly. I mean, especially for me. So it's, you know, when these things come up, and what we're trying to say is, when these things come up, when a thought comes in or something that like bothered you, you know what I mean? Like, I want to give an example because my shadow work experience is, you know, I do very much try to be conscious of the things that I need to heal, but mine will come up usually in meditation, where it's a random thing that just pops up in my mind, where I'm like, it happened 13 years ago. And I'm like, why is this coming up? Like, what? Like, and I remember not feeling comfortable when it was happening, when it was going on, but it was something that was like, why is this coming up? Why? And I know that because it's coming up because it needs to be healed, because I have to process those emotions, because I pushed them down for so many years and didn't deal with them, that I have to learn how to heal that. So
it's so hard too, because you do, when you're not aware, like now that we're having this conversation of shadow work, and now that people are, when they hear this, right? You're going to see that as gold. You're going to start, I promise you, you're going to start recognizing those moments as like, okay, great, this is awesome. I am going to dig deep. That is gold deep inside, because it's going to help you reintegrate yourself. It's going to help you understand who you really are at a really deep level, because a lot of us, I mean, for myself, I thought I had everything I could possibly ask for. I remember telling you this. I had everything on paper that looked good. I had this beautiful house, a beautiful family, beautiful friends, a wonderful marriage. You know, I lived very comfortably. I didn't have to work anymore. I mean, really, I had everything that in my mind I could picture as like ideal. And somehow I was not happy still. I was still angry. I was still anxious, depressed, frustrated. All these things still existed. You know, on the outside world, everything looked good, but those things didn't solve what was going on inside still. So I think, you know, what we're doing is, yes, everybody's doing this automatically. It's part of growing up. Now, you can either just let it happen naturally, and you can also take and you don't have to do this all the time, but when you feel capable and ready, and you have that space and that energy in your life, you can fast track it. You can start to work through this stuff and unbury, you can dig up some of this stuff. And as you do that, oh God, it's going to free so much in yourself and your being and your sense of peace and finding joy. In my experience, this has been crucial to who I am and how I've transformed my life and myself. And it's really not hard. Really what it is not pushing it back down when it comes back up. And you don't even have to necessarily go dig like a psychiatrist you would go, and you would dig deep into trauma and keep talking about it. I don't think that's necessarily helpful. You don't need to relive it. You know what happened. Become aware of it, recognize it, and then accept it. Literally say, I see you. I recognize you. I accept you. I love you.
Right.
And then let it go. And then and just say, I let it go now. And what you can do is literally just visualize these. I imagine it as like energy that's stuck around in your body in your different energy centers. And then it's basically wants to come up. And you push it back down sometimes, right? I don't want to look at that. No, not now. Okay.
Right.
Well, it's gonna keep coming back up because it needs to be released. So a lot of the times I'll do Reiki work with people, and it's like I can help to release that stuff. They still need to process it. I remember when I first started doing Reiki, people would tell me, you know, they felt wonderful. It was great. And then after, I would notice they had a little bit of emotional turmoil going on in their life. And for a little bit, I was like, I don't know if I want to do this Reiki work, if that's what's going to cause, right, in people. But then I started to realize, who am I to say that that's not exactly what they need? That's exactly the healing that they need to go through to free them,
Right.
you know, and that's exactly what they needed to experience, you know, to have faith that your body knows exactly what it needs to do, your soul, your being. So Reiki, I believe, is a really wonderful way to help that stuff kind of come up, and becoming aware of it and understanding shadow work is going to let you to do that in a much more gentle way.
Yes, I couldn't agree more about the Reiki. I don't know what it is, but it really is. It's a type of magic, guys. I cannot express this enough. I actually, when I was attuned to Reiki Master, I don't know if I told you this, Mandy, but the intense wave of emotion that I felt the week after, for a full week, I was like, this is like childbirth. Like, you know, when all the hormones are going crazy and stuff like that, and you're just like, you're just losing it. It was like that for a full week after I got attuned, because it was bringing stuff up from my past that needed to get released. And, you know, we have to do it. We have to do it. And I was just such a pro, for so many years of just blocking stuff out and putting it under the rug and not dealing with it. So now at 32 next month, I am like bringing up things that happened when I was 13 years old, 15 years old, 16 years old. I haven't thought about it in 15 years, but it's important, because we have to remember, you know, if we're looking for ascension, if we're looking to open our consciousness up, if we're looking to, you know, even develop our psychic skills, we have to do,
or just be happy.
Right,
or
exactly.
Just be happy and experience peace. Like, I don't know about the ascension and all that. I mean, it sounds great, but on like a grounded day-to-day level, I just want more peace and joy in my life. Like, really.
Yes, definitely. So, you know, what would you say to someone that is going through something right now, either a breakup or a loss of a loved one, or something that is changing them? What's some advice that you would give them right now?
A, it's here to help you. B, once you recognize that, you'll be free. I mean, really, it's starting to understand that everything we experience in our lives, even those emotional triggers and things that happen, people who come into our lives that trigger us, situations, they might not seem, I know it's really hard because emotion is very powerful, but part of being emotionally intelligent and is not freeing ourselves of emotion, but understanding that it's here to serve us. It's not here to hurt us. And once you start to look at it from that perspective, you start to see it as a gift. And I know that it's so hard when you're in that moment, because I've tried to coach myself when I'm in the depths, being like, I know this is for a purpose. I know this is helping me. And it's not easy. But I promise you, if you just breathe through it, let those feelings happen. Just keep breathing. Do not hang on to them, because that stuff's going to come out and it needs to be released. It wants to go. Let it go. Don't hang on to it. Move forward. Start to see and see if you can shift your perspective just slightly, because I really believe life is all about your perspective. If you can start to see that breakup as the next best thing, like, you don't know down the road what that's going to lead to. But if you can have a little faith and a little trust that is necessary for you to grow, for you to understand. It's always in hindsight that we see things worked out for the best for us, right?
Yes.
Like, I went through this terrible breakup. I was with this guy for like 7 years. I really wanted to marry him. I wanted to be with him. We had this house, but he was my best friend. We met in college, but he just didn't have ambition in life, and he wasn't going anywhere. And it's been 7 years. He had no intention of marrying me. He had 3 degrees. He worked at a restaurant, and bless him. But at the same time, I was like, I would have stayed in that situation all my life and been unhappy just because it was a pattern from my past, and because I didn't want to deal with the hard parts, with the shadow, with the scary, the fear of the unknown. And I feel like when we do that, spirit or higher selves or souls, God, they are going to push us onto our path, whether we like it or not. So if it takes a breakup, or you breaking your leg, or you're getting deathly sick, or my mom, she's got emphysema and all this crazy stuff going on because she hasn't quit smoking cigarettes, even though she knows she needs to, right? It doesn't need to get to that. But if it does, know that you're just being realigned to your path. There is a wonderful, journey that you're on in life. And you just have to have trust that you're going to be guided and pushed back where you need to go. And if you can kind of sit in that a little bit, you'll have a bit of relief, and then it will pull you right out of that little, vortex of depression or sadness that you're going through.
Yes, and when I shifted my thinking, right? I don't know where I heard this, but it was one of my aha moments. The quote is, "It's not happening to you, it's happening for you." And when we really think of that, and we really sit down and we're like, wow, that's something. When we shift our perception and we change our thinking, things, for me, when I really sat on that, I was like, everything makes sense. Everything that I've been through, everything in my life, all the relationships, all the turmoil that's happened in my life has come for a reason. And I know that reason now. So when we shift our thinking, it's so, we have to keep, and, it's not something like we say this once and then it's ingrained in us for the rest of our lives. I have to keep on saying that to myself, that it's not happening to me, but it's happening for me, probably at least once a week.
Yeah.
So,
well, I had somebody tell me one time, "Oh, Mandy, you're so positive Pollyanna over there. Everything's just great." And I'm like, it's not. But, and you don't want to mask the shadow with just being positive and being like, everything's going to work out great and it's fine. No, I'm not saying ignore shadow and to that the negative stuff is there. It is there. But if you can look at it in a more compassionate way, if you can look at it from a more heart-centered perspective, you start to see that, like, these things really, truly are going to help me. And I might not see it right now because, I'm down in the valley. But my soul's up on the top of the mountain, and they can see all the way across, and they can see where I'm going. And they will lead me if I am wise enough to follow my intuition and to trust in that.
Yes. Love how you said that.
Yes. I get a lot of these visuals while I'm meditating, but I too, I will see or have thoughts or triggers, right? Dreams sometimes of things that come up. It could just be that you get really angry. Like, I used to get really angry with my kids, and I just thought, I don't want it. And I would cry, like, I don't want to be a mean mom. Like, I don't want to be yelling. Why am I so angry? And I would, joke, well, motherhood really brings out, these parts of us that I never knew. I mean, again, starting to see my children as a gift now. And every time that you irritate me, I say, in the moment it might be hard, but afterwards I'm like, you know what, Audrey? Thank you so much for triggering me today and pushing me. And, I might just say this to myself, but, you helped me just move past something. And to not get hard on ourselves when we get angry or we get upset or shadow comes out. Just love that part of you and say, oh, yeah, thanks. Thank you for releasing, for coming up and getting out, because I'm becoming more free every single time. Yeah,
definitely. And that's definitely something that I'm trying to do, that, like, when I'm trying to see the positive in everything, right? I try to see the light at the end of the tunnel. So when when these things come up in meditation, and, like, sometimes these things that happen in my past, they're not great. They're really not great. They're very uncomfortable. They're hard to process. And, I'll kind of be in a funk for an hour or so afterwards because I'm like, I know I have to process this and I know that there's something here. And the way I see shadow work is
Mm-hmm.
pulling out a thorn, right? We all have our thorns. We all have those rose thorns that are stuck in us that are,
Mm-hmm.
we'll just keep it in there, almost like a splinter, like we'll just keep it in there
Yeah.
because it's too hard to get out sometimes. And
Mm-hmm.
it's pulling out that thorn. And once that thorn is out or that splinter is out, God, do you feel good? Like it is.
Yeah, it helps you.
Exactly.
Yeah, it helps you to, like, you can, because I feel like we have all these thorns and it keeps us from maybe like not really truly connecting with the others, or not really truly connecting with ourselves or knowing ourselves. I know, like, for me, it's like trying to people please all the time and make others happy, right?
Right.
It can go the other direction where you're just like totally antisocial and you like don't want to deal with people, right? Neither of those serve us. But it happens in, all the spectrums and in different relationships and areas. But really what it all comes down to is, like Carl Jung said, in our childhood, right?
Mm-hmm.
We are taught to function, we're socialized as we grow, right? And there's a function to that, but we pay a price. So let's say you're a kid, right? Kids are running around, screaming, being loud. They're told to sit down, be quiet, stop it. Don't make a mess. Well, that's the beginning of like stifling your expression and who you are and voicing yourself freely, right? Right there, you've got some now blockages in the throat chakra if you want to go on an energetic level.
Mm-hmm.
Like, boys don't do this, girls do this. Like, boys don't cry, girls don't get dirty, right? It starts us, and then, the other part of that is then we get words of praise for things that are good and acceptable behaviors. So then we start seeking approval from others, hence where I am, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you have to unlearn these things, but it's inevitable. I've asked myself this question a lot, right? Because it's difficult parenting when I start to see through the lens of shadow and child development and, how that really like creates who we are. And it's not your parents' fault. It's not your teacher's fault. It's not your society's fault. It's part of fitting in with the group. It's part of the human condition. But I think what happens is, once we kind of have to walk that fine line as a caregiver and parent, is to like, I can't just let my child like run around the playground like a crazy wild person and start stealing from people, right? Like, we can't let them be entirely free with their expression. We do need to rein it in at some level. We do have to fit into society, whether we like it or not. Whether, you could move to a different culture if you like, right? That suits you more. But most of us are not going to do that. So, and as a parent, it's like, give yourself a break, because you do have to do those things. So even if you're kind of waking up to these truths and you start looking at yourself like, holy crap, how do I do this in a conscious way? First, I would just say that, like, it's normal, it's inevitable that these aspects of yourself are going to be pushed into the shadow. That's just part of being a social being. However, like, as we grow and we become adults, we develop our logic, our sense of reflection, our critical thinking, and then we're able to look back on our socialization and then start to rediscover those parts of ourselves that are waiting to be reintegrated, right? And we're just bringing that stuff to our awareness, accepting it, loving it. Okay, yes. If you are really hurt by somebody in a tragic, try and send them blessings. Like, I don't want to give too personal of an experience, but I had this one boy who was I had a very traumatic experience with him in my childhood and teen years. And I definitely did not want to forgive. I did not want to. Your body, everything in you will kind of fight doing this. And this is part of a shadow that came up. And I knew I need to offer forgiveness. I need to move past this. And as you do this shadow work, not only do you get more compassion for yourself, but you will start to understand that everybody's, what they did, who they are, how they act is all influenced by some experience in their life, usually early in their life, of who they are. And, at their current point, they're probably not proud of it or whatever. You don't have to go talk to that person. All you have to do is forgive them in your mind, to let it go, to have some understanding and compassion. And as hard as that might be, like it can be really hard to even do that. And if you can't do that, that's totally fine too. But sit with that. Try to say it. Try to do it. Try to at least release them, because that's really, I just had a friend who did a workshop on forgiveness, and she was saying how, it's the poison basically that you drink when you hold on to that.
Right.
You're allowing it to continue to have power over you.
Right.
So you're not forgiving them for them. You're forgiving them for you, for your sake.
Yes.
You see a lot of the children who get murdered, or somebody gets murdered and the family members are like, I forgive you. And I remember thinking, what? You forgive them? Like, how can you forgive this person who murdered your child or loved one? Because they, and a lot of times it's grief counseling, right, that they're talked to about this. You have to forgive them, because otherwise it's going to create disharmony in you, and it's not worth it. And the forgiveness is not for them, it's for you. So if we can start looking at, some of these triggers or memories that come up in that way, try and move through them with that perspective, I think it's going to help us ultimately become like highly functional members of society, but also we can honor who we truly are, and we can also be harmonious as a whole, right?
Yes. And God only knows we need that.
We really do. And we need the tools so we can teach our children, like talking as a parent.
Right.
Like, I needed to learn this now so that I can teach my children, and also so that I'm not reacting and perpetuating a cycle of anger or whatever, because children are modeling everything that they see.
Yes.
So as a parent, it's even more important that we do this work, I think.
Yes, definitely. I have learned, I'm just so thankful that I came across meditation when I did, when my children are still a little on the younger side, because this is something that they see me and my husband do on a daily basis, and they see the difference. You know what I mean? And they see that we don't get angry. We hardly get angry at them. And we're able to, when they do something that isn't great, we don't go and we don't yell at them or anything. And both of us do it. We'll take a deep breath, and we will explain and we will process things so that they don't have to deal with, that guilt of holding on to something that they did, a kid thing, you know what I mean? Or something along those lines. And this is definitely something that, like, I swear that I wish I knew about this. I wish I knew about shadow work. I wish I knew about meditation when I was 13.
It's fundamental to who we are.
Right. It should be a fundamental thing, and it should be taught to every single child, because I really truly believe that if every single 8-year-old, and this is what the Dalai Lama said, if every single 8-year-old were to have the tools to practice mindfulness and meditation, I really feel like it would just shift everything. There would be far less turmoil in the world if we taught society and if we taught our children these tools now, So,
and honestly, I mean, they say who we are as people is often formed in those first 10 years, right? It's mostly formed in those first 10 years. So if we can be more aware as parents or as just people in society working with children, teachers, caregivers, anybody, when you start to shift this stuff when they're small, when they're young, and when you give them those tools, they start to go throughout life completely different. They're going to be our leaders, right? One day, they're the ones that are going to come up with these ideas and create a new world. And it sounds very, airy-fairy, but I feel like that's how we create a peace on earth. That's how we create heaven on earth. It's inside. It's going inside and doing that work. And a lot of us are distracting ourselves on a daily basis with our phones, with games, with this, with that, with the next thing. and I don't want to judge. Everybody has their path, and some people are meant to take this path and some aren't. I feel if you're listening to this, you are likely being called to start doing this work within yourself.
Yes.
So, and it doesn't require, it's like a lot of people are I find a lot of people I talk to, they're just not interested in meditation. Okay, I understand, because it's hard to be quiet. People think, oh, meditation, that's boring. I'm just going to sit there. No, because when you start sitting there, it's literally your inability to be with yourself in your own thoughts, in your quietness. And all those thoughts are your inner parts, aspects of yourself that you are constantly distracting yourself from. So you don't have to listen to it. So you don't have to, and it just is, it's not as, you don't have to sit there and do a meditation and focus on them. My advice to somebody who's like, yes, I understand the importance of this, is to just go throughout your day. When the next thing comes up, start to look at it differently. Start to say, oh, okay. And if you're at a point where you can't really think about it and reflect on it, that's okay. Write it down. Get your journal at the end of the day. Start looking at your past, your family dynamics. What are the most formative events, good, bad, traumatic, that have formed who you are? Why am I so angry? Why am I jealous? My husband starts talking to another woman, I get very jealous. Why is that? Well, start digging a little bit and start thinking, just start writing. And you'll find that a lot of stuff will come out that you're like, oh, okay. And as soon as it's out, especially if it's on a paycheck bind, it's like, okay, and then it stops bothering you. It doesn't keep coming up. As soon as you address it, you become aware of it. That's all it takes.
Yes, definitely. Definitely. Mandy, thank you so much for coming on. I always love it. We really get into this, so it's always great to have you on.
Well, thank you. I feel like I could talk forever. So I'm so appreciative that you have this platform to share this information, because I feel like I'm meant to share it. But I'm so busy in my day-to-day life. I don't know how and where to begin. So this is just perfect.
Yes. Thank you again. Thanks so much.
Yes, of course. Thank you.
Bye.